2 weeks ago. My father laughed at the biggest achievement of my life. Not a quiet chuckle. Not awkward politeness. He actually laughed, and called it meaningless. And my mother. She didn't defend me. She didn't even respond. She just agreed with my sister. That should have hurt. But it didn't. Because what they didn't realize was that 48 hours later, millions of people would watch me succeed. And they would be forced to see me for the first time. My name is Emily. I'm 32 years old. And I've spent my entire life being the daughter my family overlooked. Not ignored completely. Just never chosen. Never celebrated. Never enough. My sister Victoria is everything my parents value. Successful lawyer. High income. Perfect image. Every achievement she makes becomes a family event. Every win is announced. Celebrated. Amplified. Me. I became a teacher. That was my first mistake. I still remember the day I told them. I got accepted into the program, I said. My father didn't smile. Teaching, he asked slowly. Like I'd said something disappointing. My mother sighed. You could have done more. That was the moment everything shifted. I stopped being the daughter with potential. And became the daughter who settled. But I didn't stop. I worked. Late nights. Early mornings. Classrooms that didn't have enough resources. Students who needed more than just lessons. I gave everything I had. And slowly, I built something meaningful. Even if they never saw it. 3 weeks ago, something changed. I received an envelope. Thick paper. Official seal. From the Department of Education. I didn't open it right away. I just stared at it. Because something about it felt different. Important. When I finally did open it, my hands started shaking. I read it once. Then again. Then a third time just to make sure it was real. I had been selected as a finalist for a National Teaching Award. One of 4 in the entire country. A ceremony in Washington, D.C. Live broadcast. Government officials. Everything. For a moment. I just sat there. Trying to process it. Because this wasn't small. This wasn't ordinary. This was something most teachers never even get close to. And for the first time in years, I thought, maybe this will make them proud. So I did something I almost never do. I told my family. I typed the message carefully. Rewrote it more than 10 times. Didn't want to sound desperate. Didn't want to sound like I was asking for validation. Just honest. Simple. Hi, I've been selected as a finalist for a National Teaching Award. The ceremony is in D.C. It would mean a lot if you came. I attached the official invitation. And I hit send. Then I waited. Minutes. Hours. Nothing. By midnight. They had all seen the message. Still nothing. The next morning. My phone buzzed. My father. Finally. I opened the message. 11 words. That's all it took. Just a teacher award. Not worth flying out for something like that. I stared at the screen. Read it again. And again. Each time it hit harder. Then my sister replied. Sorry, I have dinner plans. Can't cancel. A smiley face at the end. And my mother. She didn't type anything. She just liked my sister's message. That was it. No congratulations. No pride. No effort. I sat there for a long time. Not crying. Not angry. Just quiet. Because at some point, you stop expecting people to change. So I replied with 2 words. That's fine. But in that moment, something shifted. Not in them. In me. Because for the first time, I stopped trying to earn their approval. That night, my grandmother called. And what she told me changed everything. Because she didn't just know about the award. She knew who nominated me. And when I found out the truth, I realized. This ceremony wasn't just important. It was about to expose everything my family had ignored for years. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because of my parents. Not because of what they said. but because of what my grandmother hinted at. Did you read the letter carefully? She asked me over the phone. Yes, I said. It mentioned the nomination was anonymous. There was a pause. Then she said something strange. Some people don't stay anonymous forever. That stuck with me. Because the letter didn't just say I was nominated. It said I was selected. Chosen. Out of thousands. By someone important enough to be taken seriously. The next morning, I reread the letter again. Slower this time. Every word. Every detail. And that's when I noticed something I hadn't paid attention to before. The line that changed everything. Your nomination was submitted by a distinguished educator with a national reputation. A distinguished educator. National reputation. That wasn't random. That meant influence. That meant respect. That meant someone powerful in my field. And suddenly, my grandmother's voice echoed in my head. I have old friends in education. I froze. Because my grandmother wasn't just any retired teacher. She had spent decades as a principal. Built schools from nothing. Turned struggling programs into success stories. People respected her. Listened to her. Remembered her. But would she? No. That would mean. My phone buzzed. A text. From her. Pack something nice for Washington. You'll need it. That was it. No explanation. No confirmation. But I understood. Or at least, I started to. 2 days later, I got another email. This time from a news network. They wanted a short interview before the ceremony. I stared at the message. Read it twice. 3 times. Because suddenly, this wasn't just an award. This was visibility. Public. National. And for the first time, I hesitated. Should I tell my parents? Explain again. Make them understand. No. I stopped myself. Because they had already made their decision. And this time, I wasn't going to chase them for it. Instead, I packed my bag. Carefully. Professionally. One dress. One speech. One version of myself. That I had built without them. The day before my flight, my mom called. We're having dinner tomorrow, she said. Your father wants everyone there. I already knew what that meant. It wasn't about me. It never was. When I arrived, everything looked exactly the same. Perfect table. Perfect lighting. Perfect attention. But not for me. My sister sat at the center. Smiling. Glowing. Waiting. Big news, my father announced. She just made partner. Applause. Pride. Excitement. Everything I had hoped for. Just once. I congratulated her. Genuinely. Because unlike them, I didn't need to compete. Then my father looked at me. So, he said. How's your little event? Little. Still little. Even now. It's tomorrow, I replied calmly. He nodded. Right. That teaching thing. That was all. That's all it was to him. Then my sister leaned forward. How much do teachers even make? She asked. I knew where this was going. I answered anyway. She smirked slightly. That's less than my monthly bonus. The table laughed lightly. Not cruelly. Just enough. And that's when I realized something important. They weren't trying to hurt me. They just didn't respect me. I stood up. Slowly. Calmly. I should go, I said. Early flight. As I reached the door, I paused. Then turned back. By the way, I added. This event will be broadcast nationally. Silence. Small. But noticeable. My father frowned slightly. Broadcast. Yes. I met his eyes. But you wouldn't know that. Then I left. That night. I got one more email. And this one changed everything. Because it wasn't just an interview request. It was confirmation. This wasn't small. This wasn't local. This wasn't something they could ignore. And for the first time, I made a decision. I wasn't going to explain anything. I wasn't going to convince them. I was going to let them find out. On their own. Because while I was boarding a flight to Washington, my family was making dinner reservations. Laughing. Celebrating. Completely unaware that in less than 24 hours, they were about to see me on national television. The ballroom lights dimmed. A soft golden glow spread across the stage as the audience settled into silence. 2,000 people. Leaders in education. Officials. Journalists. And me. Standing just behind the curtain, trying to steady my breathing. "Miss Carter, you'll go on from the left," a staff member whispered. I nodded. But my mind wasn't on the stage. It was somewhere else. Back home. At a dinner table where I wasn't even a thought. At that exact moment, my family was sitting in a crowded restaurant. Laughing. Toasting. Celebrating my sister. "Imagine what her little event looks like," my father probably said. "Some small room, maybe a few chairs." My sister likely laughed. "Yeah, probably nothing serious." They had no idea. Back in Washington, the host stepped onto the stage. "Tonight, we honor the best educators in the country." Applause filled the room. Cameras moved. Red lights blinking. Live broadcast. My phone buzzed in my hand. A message from my grandmother. They're watching, whether they know it or not. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and for a moment, I let everything go. Their opinions, their doubts, their absence. Because I had earned this moment. Please welcome our finalists. My name was called. I stepped into the light. And everything changed. The applause wasn't polite. It was real. Loud. Powerful. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't invisible. One by one, finalists were introduced. Then the host spoke again. "Before the final announcement, each nominee will hear from someone whose life they impacted." My heart skipped. I hadn't expected that. And now, representing Miss Emily Carter. Pause. Marcus Thompson. I froze. Marcus. He walked onto the stage. Confident. Strong. Nothing like the quiet, withdrawn boy I remembered. "When I was 16, he began. "I didn't think I'd make it to 18. The room went silent. I had nothing. No direction. No support. He looked directly at me. But then I met Miss Carter. My throat tightened. "She didn't just teach me," he continued. "She noticed me." Every word landed. Heavy. Real. She stayed after school. Helped me apply for scholarships. Made sure I didn't give up. His voice softened. "I'm standing here today, because she didn't." A pause. "I'm now a medical resident." Gasps. Whispers. Applause building. And I wouldn't be here without her. The room erupted. Standing ovation. 2,000 people on their feet. For me. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Because for the first time, someone had said it out loud. What I had spent years doing quietly. Across the country. My father's phone lit up. A notification. Then another. Then 10 more. He opened one. And everything stopped. A headline. A photo. Me. On stage. His face changed. Confusion. Then realization. Then shock. "That's Emily," my mother whispered. My sister grabbed the phone. Scrolled. Faster. More clips. More images. "This is live," she said. Her voice shaking. Back in the ballroom. The secretary stepped forward. Envelope in hand. "The National Teacher of the Year is..." Silence. Heavy. Unbreakable. I felt someone squeeze my hand. Another finalist. Smiling. Encouraging. But I barely noticed. Because in that moment, everything I had ever worked for, everything they had ever dismissed, was about to be decided. And what happened next didn't just change my life. It forced my entire family to face the truth they ignored for 32 years. The National Teacher of the Year is... The pause felt endless. Like time itself had stopped. 2,000 people held their breath. And somewhere, hundreds of miles away, my family was staring at a phone screen, finally seeing me, Emily Carter. The room exploded. Applause. Cheers. People rising to their feet. But I didn't move. Not at first. Because for a second, it didn't feel real. Then someone nudged me gently. Go, they whispered. I walked forward. Every step heavier than the last. Not because of pressure, but because of everything it carried. Years of being overlooked, dismissed, minimized, and now, recognized. The secretary shook my hand. Congratulations. Cameras flashed. Lights bright. The world watching. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't trying to prove anything. I had already done it. I stepped up to the podium. The speech I had prepared sat on the screen in front of me. Safe. Professional. Forgettable. I didn't read it. Instead, I looked out at the audience. And then, straight into the camera. Growing up, I began. I was told that what I chose to do wouldn't matter. The room went quiet. That teaching wasn't ambitious enough. A few people shifted, listening closer. That success meant money, status, recognition. I paused. But tonight, I held the edge of the podium. I stand here because of something very different. I glanced toward the front row. My grandmother. Tears in her eyes. Pride written all over her face. Someone believed in me, I said. Before anyone else did. The camera turned slightly, capturing her. She taught me that success isn't about how much you earn. I took a breath. It's about how many lives you change. Silence. Then, applause building again. Stronger this time. To every teacher watching. My voice steadied. You matter more than anyone tells you. And to anyone who's ever been made to feel small. I looked directly into the lens. You are not. The room stood again. Another ovation. Longer. Louder. Unforgettable. Across the country. My father sat frozen. Phone still in his hand. My mother didn't speak. Didn't move. And my sister. She wasn't smiling anymore. Because in that moment, they weren't watching a small ceremony. They were watching something they couldn't ignore. Reality. After the broadcast, their phones exploded. Messages. Calls. Questions. Why weren't you there? You must be so proud. Where were you sitting? They had no answers. For the first time in their lives, they weren't in control of the story. I didn't answer their calls that night, or the next, or the day after, because something had changed. Not them. Me. I didn't need their validation anymore. Didn't need their approval. Didn't need them to finally understand. Because I already did. A week later, I agreed to see them. Not to fix anything. Not to argue. Just to finish it. I'm not angry, I told them calmly. I'm just done trying to be enough for you. They tried to explain. Apologize. Shift things. But it didn't matter. Because apologies don't erase patterns. And understanding doesn't come overnight. So I set boundaries. Clear ones. For the first time. If you want to be in my life, I said, you have to see me for who I am. Not who they wanted me to be. Not who they compared me to. Just me. And then I left. 6 months later. My life looks different. Bigger apartment. More opportunities. Speaking events. Recognition. But the biggest change is internal. I'm not waiting anymore. Not for approval. Not for validation. Not for permission. Because I finally understand something powerful. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You just need one person who does. And sometimes, that person is yourself. So let me ask you, have you ever been underestimated by your own family? Ignored, until it was too late? And if you had the chance, would you prove them wrong? Or walk away completely? Because sometimes, the biggest success isn't winning. It's finally knowing your worth.